अच्छा 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 अच्छा. हा हा. ठीक आहे. हा हा. आलंच आता युट्यूबच ओपन झालं. अच्छा. हा हा. ओके ठीक आहे. अच्छा अच्छा अच्छा. हा हा. ठीक आहे. हा हा. आलंच आता युट्यूबच ओपन झालं. अच्छा. हा हा. ओके. Good afternoon, students. Welcome to CMAT 2026 live analysis. This exam was conducted today, that is 25th of January 2026 from 9 to 12. And at some centers in Mumbai, the exam started late. Some were around 9:30 types. So anyway, so the format of this exam remained same as the previous years. That is, there were 5 sections having 20 questions each. The sections on quantitative techniques and data interpretation, logical reasoning, language comprehension, general awareness, and INE sections. So what we are looking at is for QT and DI section, about 16 to 17 good attempts. Six attempt of 16 to 17 would be considered a good attempt. Okay. Similarly, for logical reasoning, 15 to 16 would be considered a good attempt. For language comprehension, it's 14 to 16. General awareness, 10 to 11. And innovation and entrepreneurship section, it is 11 to 12. So overall level of difficulty that this exam had was quantitative techniques and data interpretation was easy to moderate. Logical reasoning was easy. Language comprehension was also easy to moderate. And the other 2 sections, general awareness and innovation and entrepreneurship sections, they were moderate in terms of LOD. So as it happens in CMAT, this sections, innovation and entrepreneurship, as well as general awareness. So if you can score well in these sections, that propels your score to a higher trajectory. Because as you can see, for QT and DI, a good attempt is already 16 to 17 out of 20. So there is not much scope for anyone to go high in this particular section. But on the other hand, this INE section had good attempt of 11 to 12. Now, if someone can attempt, say, 17, 18 questions with good accuracy, so that can be a differentiating factor between a student who scores really high and the student who is not able to score that high. So this is one distinguishing factor in CMAT. Now, moving on to the analysis of individual sections. this section of QT and data interpretation. So there were three sections on data interpretation. There was one set with table, involved easy calculations, and the remaining 17 questions were on mathematics. So out of which there were 7 questions on arithmetic. So the questions on arithmetic have contained time and work, ratio proportion, profit and loss, clocks, mixtures, allegations, and percentages. Similarly, there were three questions on geometry. One was on triangles, one was on mensuration, and one was quadrilateral. Uh, then there was one question on modern maths, that was on probability. Now, some students mentioned that the wording of this particular question in probability was slightly ambiguous. So we will have to see that. The numbers, there were 6 questions. One question on surd, one question on indices, one on fractions, one on classification of numbers, and then one question on HCF, LCM, and one question was miscellaneous type. Now, the question on HCF, LCM was slightly tricky because the reason is that when we think of HCF, LCM, the situation given is some three clocks are beeping together, or clocks or something else is beeping together, and with different frequency, and then when they will beep again together. Okay. Now, in such questions, usually we take LCM, and that is the time when the three clocks beep together at the same time. But the question did not specify at the same time, but the question just specified when they will beep together. So that is what made that question somewhat tricky. Otherwise, students who did not notice that part might have thought that something is wrong with this question, and that option is not matching and things like that. So what we are saying is around 16 to 17 attempts in this section with 80% accuracy would be a good attempt. And then some questions involved true and false type of statements. So there was one question on numbers, which belong to that category. Then moving on to next section, that is logical reasoning. So out of 20 questions on logical reasoning, 16 questions were on non-verbal reasoning and 4 questions were on verbal reasoning. So out of these 4 questions on verbal reasoning, the questions were of the type assertion, then strong and weak arguments, syllogism, and analogy. So one question each of these types. And the questions on non-verbal reasoning, so they were from variety of different topics in logical reasoning. So there were 3 questions on family tree. So out of which one was a direct question and 2 questions were in a symbol-based family tree. And there were 2 questions on coding. There were 2 questions on linear arrangement. There were 2 questions on counting the figures. So you have to count the number of pentagons and number of triangles in a given figure. Then there was one question on clock, one question on directions, one question on cubes. There were 2 questions on numerical puzzle. That means you have to figure out the missing number in the mesh of the diagram given there. Then there was one question on series completion. So what we're looking at is around 15 to 16 good attempts in this section is about 80% accuracy. So that would be considered a good attempt. Then moving on to next section, that is language comprehension. So there was one RC reading comprehension passage with 2 questions. So it was 150 words long, and the topic was on scientific theories. And then there were the remaining 18 questions were on vocabulary, grammar, and verbal reasoning. So there were questions of the type fill in the blanks, and then replace the underlying phrase, then passive voice, which of the following would be the passive voice representation of the same sentence, then close passage with 3 blanks, then jumbled sentences, then grammar. So in grammar, there were questions like compound sentence, verb form, active passive voice, then reported speech, prepositions, degree of comparison, and things like that. There was there were questions on sentence correction and also miscellaneous types. So this adds up to 18 questions on in the language comprehension section out of 20. So what we are looking at is about 14 to 16 attempts with 80% accuracy would be considered a good attempt. Yeah. Then moving on to next section, that is general awareness. So uh, 19 out of 20 questions were on static GK and one question was on current affairs. So there were two questions on science, two questions on sports, three questions on management. Then there were questions on Indian history, awards, arts, and personalities. Also Indian international awards, institutions, etc. Then there were questions on books and authors, and also miscellaneous. There were 19 static questions and one current affairs question. So what we are looking at is about 10 to 11 attempts in this section with 80% accuracy would be a good attempt. And the last section is innovation and entrepreneurship section. So as I said earlier, these two sections, innovation and entrepreneurship and this general awareness. So these two sections are the ones wherein you can, if you can score well, that will take your score in a higher trajectory. So there were 20 questions in this INE section, out of which 9 questions were in the format such as identify the correct statement and then assertion, etc. And the different areas were covered, such as say business, economics, management, and entrepreneurship. So out of this 20, 17 questions were on business and entrepreneurship concepts, such as bootstrapping, then venture capital, factors impacting the markets, qualities of entrepreneurs, dexterity theory, design thinking, and things like that. So they were basically conceptual questions. So, and then 3 questions were on business general knowledge. So what we are looking at is about 11 to 12 questions in this section with 80% accuracy would be considered a good attempt. So that's it for now from my side. Thank you very much. All the best.